Hello and welcome to another episode of macOS X Screencast. This time I will show you how to create encrypted time machine backups. The secret of encrypted time machine backup is that you don't do the backups directly to an external disk or partition, but instead do the backups into a sparse image file which is encrypted on the external disk, and let the system mount that image file automatically when it's time for a backup. It's relatively easy to achieve that, and so you can have an encrypted time machine backup on an external disk, which is safe for theft or anything else, and still your internal disk of the Mac is unencrypted. On my other blog on MacGeeks.de, I had a discussion about the Mac built-in encryption system called Firewall, which basically renders the normal time machine backup unuseful. So the encrypted time machine backup is the best solution in my opinion. The first step is to turn off Time Machine if you use it at all at the moment. So go to Time Machine in the System Preferences and make sure the slider is turned to off here. You have to authenticate. So the next step is to prepare the external disk. I use the disk utility. I have an external disk here and will erase the existing partition and create a new one and call it backup host for now, and you can choose any file system. It's have to contain only the image file then. So it will create an empty partition on the disk. You can leave the disk utility open because we need it another time. So I minimize it for now, and I check. Now here I have a new partition called backup host, which is basically empty. Now I go to System Preferences, Time Machine again, and tell Time Machine to use that partition as a backup media. Here you see the backup host. I say use for backup, and I say start the backup now. This will, if you look here, initialize this partition so that Time Machine knows this is a valid backup medium. Now I can stop the process because I don't want to do the backup on the disk itself. I want to use a disk image. I turn Time Machine off again. I can delete this folder now because I don't need it. And now I go to the disk image and will create to the disk utility and create the disk image I like. The secret for Time Machine to recognize the image file as a valid backup media is that it has to have a certain name, and the name is the host name of your laptop or your Mac computer and the Ethernet address of your first network card. To figure out what that is, you go to Terminal, and the primary network interface on your computer is named EN0. So you type ifconfig EN0 and grep for the line which contains either, and it will display the MAC address of your first network card. We copy that into the clipboard, and to figure out the exact host name, you type in hostname -s for short, and now you see what's the host name of your computer, and you copy that into clipboard as well. And now we go to disk utility. Make sure you don't mark any of the partitions in the above section, just click down here and say new image. We want to save the image on the external disk called backup host and name it our host name we have in the clipboard, underscore, and then the Ethernet address. So I delete the dashes here. So that's the name of our disk image. I call it time machine image. That's the actual label when the image is mounted. Then I have a custom size. I say, okay, my backup should be 100 gig. And the file system of a time machine backup must be macOS extended case-sensitive journaled, otherwise time machine won't work. And I want encryption, of course. Choose the best encryption available. Partition scheme, doesn't really matter. I use the standard Apple partition map. And the image format should be sparse bundle disk image, because that's a growable disk image. It will grow as the space is demanded by time machine. So it will start with a smaller file and grow to a max of 100 gig. Now I say create, and disk utility creates the image. So I have to create a password for the encrypted file, of course. You choose a password now. And very important, mark to remember the password in your keychain. This is needed because you don't want to enter your keychain every time time machine needs the image to be mounted and to do the backup. You put that in your system keychain and the system will automatically mount the image once it's time for a backup. So save that in your keychain. And it will create the file on the external disk. You can have a look here. Now you see the file is created on the backup host. And it's done and mounted. So the next step is here, that's the mounted image. We can unmount that for now. And the last step is to go into the keychain and tell keychain that the key we are looking for is in the system keychain. So we search for the host name in our keychain. And see here, we have this is the key we just created, you see today. And drag and drop that into the system keychain. Enter your admin credentials one time. Say always allow the system to use that. And your system is now able to use that as a backup image. Now you can go to the time machine settings and system preferences again. And make sure the disk you selected is the physical disk named backup host we created. And notice here in the Finder that the time machine image file is not mounted at the moment, but if we turn on time machine now, and say do the backup, you will notice that time machine will automatically mount the encrypted disk image to do the backup on that image file. Now you see here making backup disk available, and you see the time machine disk image is mounted now automatically. So, and the backup will put all the files on the image file from now on. Once time machine is finished, it will automatically unmount the image as well. The only drawback is that you can't use the normal time machine interface to restore files. The interface will not automatically mount the image file if you want to restore files. So you have to mount the image file manually once you want to restore files, and drag and drop the files then from the time machine backup partition to your system to restore files. That's fair for me. So I have an encrypted backup now, and I can live that I don't have this fancy graphical user interface for restoring files. Okay, that's all for now.